Welcome back to Horns High Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Metal. I got Shane here with me from Canada. How you doing, Shane?
What's up, Pete? Doing pretty good, man. Ready to get some metal on here.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm looking forward to it. I want to know what you got. You're the one that picked this segment. So.
Hell yeah. We got Inhuman Condition today, Pete. And I'm pretty new to Inhuman Condition, actually. I came across it quite accidentally. I guess sometime September last year, their Godzilla video came up in my YouTube algorithm. And yeah, I've been a fan ever since. Started with the latest release and been going through the back catalog. And it's just great old school death metal, mid-tempo death thrash. And you know me, Pete, I'm all about the mid-tempo. Of course, there's always exceptions to that, but that's my go-to groove. And
right.
So Inhuman Condition, their latest album is called Panic Prayer. It was released in July of 2023 on Listenable Insanity Records. It has 8 songs. I guess you'd probably consider this an EP, though, because 4 of the tracks are live. 2 from each past album, and there's a cover. So there's really only 3 new songs on it. So I guess you'd call it an EP. I'm not a big fan of live albums, but if you're putting out an EP, this is pretty cool. This is a pretty great way to release an EP, actually. This reminds me of just, of an old school thing to do. You're getting something with bonus content, and you just don't see that very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about live albums not too long ago, and the only memorable one I could remember from the past that I really listened to a lot was Maiden, Live After Death. I forget what you were saying, but yeah, not too many.
Live Creation from Creator, I think, is the best sounding live album I've ever heard. Yeah, it's unfucking believable.
So the live tracks on this are not too bad for live songs anyways, considering how I feel about them. And they sound live, but I don't think it's been, put through a mixer or anything like that. It sounds like just a live recording, but, not too bad. And like I say, very cool to have on an EP anyways, along with the cover.
Right.
So these guys have 2 other full-length albums called Rat God and Fearsome. And here's the crazy part. They just formed in 2021. So if you include this EP, that's like an album a year.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they've been really busy boys. Plus, they're touring, playing live, so that's got to be hectic for them. But, we're not talking about some noobs to the scene here.
Right.
We definitely have a bit of death metal royalty going on here, and this isn't their first time around the block. So these guys are a 3-piece band. They've had a few different drummers, but the guitar, bass, and vocals have been consistent since inception. So on bass, we have Terry Butler. That's the big guy there on the right. Familiar name to many. You may know him from Obituary, Massacre, 6 Feet Under, or maybe even Death. And on guitars, we have Taylor Nordberg. And sorry, every time I see the name Nordberg, I think of OJ in the Naked Gun movie.
Right.
So Taylor Nordberg, you may know him from such bands as Deicide, Massacre, Wombbath, or Soilwork. Finally, on drums and vocals, we have Jeremy Kling. And yes, drums and vocals, the drummer sings.
Nice.
It happens, but not something you see very often.
Yeah, it makes me think of Exciter, man, that Canadian band.
So you may know Jeremy from Invictus, Kill Division, Massacre, Skin Eater, Venom Inc., or Wombbath, and there's a heck of a lot more bands between these guys. I've just rattled off a few here. They've just been in a lot of bands. A lot of them are common, too, like Massacre, for instance. They've all been in Massacre, and so some pretty big players here anyways.
Yeah, that's really cool.
The first thing that really drew me into these guys was the drumming, actually. It just has a real, an authentic sound to it. It's not overproduced. It sounds very real, but not like a live recording real. The mixing is just very pleasing to me. The guitars sound great. They're crunchy, chuggy, old school death metal, but it's thrashy too, and it's just full of wicked, catchy riffs and grooves.
Mm-hmm.
My only criticism, it can be hard to hear the bass at times, depending on how you have it EQ'd and everything, your setting. And you can definitely feel it, but it's more rhythm than standing out. Right. And it does add depth and low end for sure. Think of something like Obituary.
Yeah,
pretty common in a lot of death metal.
Yeah, we've talked about it. The bassiness of the guitar just tends to drown out a bass unless the bass has got something unique going on in its tone that it cuts, like some of them we've talked about. But I've seen death metal bands play without bass players because they're so bassy anyway that it's not as noticeable when there's not a bass player. But being a bass player, I'm always like, man, what's up with that?
Yeah, for sure. And so I'd say this is a bit more death than thrash, but it's a really fine line with these guys. I kind of waffle back and forth on it. Sometimes I'll be listening to a riff and I'll think, hey, this is pretty thrashy, but it's doing a really good job of sounding like death metal. So I'd say it's pretty much textbook definition death thrash. Of course, the soloing, it's as good as the rhythm, so no complaints there. Vocals are pretty good for a drummer, and no, I'm just kidding on that. The vocals are really great, very death metal sounding. It's got a great growl, and you can totally make out what the lyrics are. Now, for live shows, they do have a separate drummer, a gig drummer, I guess. So Jeremy is not playing the drums and singing at the same time. So
that's good. That's tough, especially singing like that.
That would, and playing fast drums like that and singing would just, I can't imagine.
Right.
But he puts a lot of feeling into his vocals. He's really got that death metal stink face going on in the videos. And it's almost to the point of comically overacting, kind of like Lenny from Endseeker, He really gets into it. So go check out their YouTube channel. They have quite a few videos for such a new band, only 2 albums. There's some guitar and some drum playthrough videos in there too. And you'll find a lot of live gigs on YouTube. So go check it out. And that, the last thing I want to mention here is the covers. This is all pretty good stuff. It's all very metal looking. The artist is Dan Goldsworthy, and he's done cover art for bands such as Cradle of Filth, Accept, and he did the recent Corpse Grinder cover.
Nice.
So the guy on the Inhuman Condition covers is called the Rat God, and he's the band's mascot. And you know what? I really miss mascots. I've always liked Vic Rattlehead and Eddie the Head. Yeah. It's like, bring back the mascots, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's cool. That is a throwback for sure.
Yeah, and the Rat God, he looked very familiar to me. I thought I'd seen him in an 80s or 90s horror movie. I've been racking my brain on it, couldn't put my finger on it. Then this morning it came to me. He looks like Evil Dead, Evil Ash from Evil Dead 2.
Right. Yeah, I was cracking
support
up.
the artists, because it looks like AI is taking over. So,
man,
you've seen the stink about Kerry King and Deicide, and now Pestilence has an AI cover.
I saw that. Yep.
I understand if you're a new band and you're just broke ass and you don't have any friends that are artists. What are you going to do? But these big established bands, they can be paying for an artist, and they really are shooting themselves in the foot. Because before too long, we're going to have AI death metal, and it's going to be very convincing and capable. Yeah. So when that happens, these artists aren't going to get any sympathy.
No, because you're just going to have some kid in his basement creating like these epic death metal albums, just AI. That's kind of scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
Anyways, go check these guys out. Check out the Godzilla video. It's great fun.
Yeah.
Inhuman Condition, Panic Prayer, man. Good stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks for checking out another episode of 666 Seconds of Metal.
Horns high.